Hello and welcome back to the Passport to Crime podcast, hosted by me, Oakley. Each week we cross borders, geographic, emotional and ethical, to explore the stories that shape our understanding of justice, identity and truth. Today we head south to Florida, a peninsula carved between the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, known for its sun-drenched beaches, subtropical storms and cultural contradictions. As we record, the air hangs heavy at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity clinging to every surface, and the threat of late summer rain lingering in the clouds. It's the kind of heat that makes tempers flare and secrets sweat. But beneath the palm trees and pastel skylines lies a darker rhythm. Our journey takes us into the heart of Florida's rap scene, where fame, loyalty and violence collided in a case that continues to haunt both fans and investigators. This isn't just a story about music, it's about power, betrayal, and the echoes of justice that still haven't settled. Let's take a brief look at what's to come in today's episode. In October 2018, Jamell Demons, known to the world as YNW Melly, was accused of murdering two of his closest friends and collaborators, Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as YNW Juvy, and Anthony Williams, also known as YNW Sakchaser. Prosecutors alleged that Melly and associate Cortland Henry, also known as YNW Bortland, staged the crime scene to resemble a drive-by shooting. The case gained national attention, not only for its brutality, but for the eerie parallels between Melly's lyrics and the alleged crime. Despite two mistrials, the case remains unsolved, suspended in legal limbo as of 2024. With that being said, let's delve into today's case. So who was YNW Melly? YNW Melly, also known as Jamell Demons, was born in Gifford, Florida, a small town with limited opportunities and a high crime rate. Music became his escape. By the age of 15, he was writing lyrics that reflected his environment, poverty, violence and survival. He formed the YNW collective with childhood friends Juvy and Sakchaser, and together they built a brand that promised brotherhood and success. But behind the scenes, tension simmered. Fame brought money, attention and pressure. Rumours of jealousy and disputes over management and finances began to surface. Some close to the group described a shift in Melly's demeanour, more withdrawn and more paranoid and more isolated. So let's look back at the night of the murders. On October 26, 2018, Juvy and Sakchaser were shot multiple times inside a Jeep Compass. Cortland Henry drove their bodies to the hospital, claiming they had been victims of a drive-by shooting. But the story quickly unravelled. Autopsy reports revealed the bullet trajectories didn't match a drive-by scenario. The wounds were consistent with close-range shots fired from inside the vehicle. Blood spatter analysis showed that the victims were likely shot while seated. Shell casings were found inside the car, and the pattern of impact suggested a deliberate execution. One of the most disturbing details: Juvy was shot in the head, and Sakchaser was shot in the face. The brutality of the act and the intimacy of the setting suggested betrayal, not a random act of violence. So let's take a look at the digital trail. Investigators turned to cell phone data, surveillance footage and social media posts. Melly's phone placed him in the vehicle at the time of the murders. Messages exchanged between Melly and Henry appeared to discuss the staging of the crime scene. A 20-minute documentary Melly filmed about his life became a focal point. Prosecutors argued it contained incriminating details, including references to loyalty, betrayal and death. Defense attorneys countered that the footage artistic expression, but clearly not evidence. Now let's take a look at Melly's own lyrics on trial. Melly's song Murder on My Mind was released months before the murders. Its lyrics described shooting a friend and watching him die. The public latched onto the song as a confession, but legal experts warned against conflating art with reality. Can lyrics be used as evidence? Courts are divided in Melly's case. Prosecutors cited his music, Instagram posts and alleged confessions to friends, but the defense argued that no physical evidence directly tied Melly to the trigger. Then of course there's the trials and mistrials. Melly's first trial ended in a hung jury. So did the second. Jurors struggled with the circumstantial nature of the evidence and the lack of eyewitness testimony. The third trial was paused in early 2024 pending a ruling on the admissibility of the documentary. Meanwhile, Melly remains incarcerated. His supporters cite flawed forensic and racial bias, critics point to inconsistencies and motive, and the case has become a cultural flashpoint, raising questions about justice, celebrity, and the commodification of trauma. So now let's take a look at the psychological undercurrents. What drives someone to allegedly kill their closest friends? Psychologists point to a mix of environmental trauma, fame-induced isolation, and unresolved mental health issues. Melly's upbringing included exposure to violence, incarceration, and abandonment. Fame may have amplified existing fractures rather than healed them. Then there's the families left behind. Juvy and Sakchaser were more than artists. They were sons, brothers, and friends. Their families have spoken out demanding justice and accountability. The grief is compounded by the public spectacle of the trial and the constant media attention. This case is not just about guilt or innocence, it's about the fragility of trust, the cost of fame, and the lives it lost in its wake. Whether Melly is guilty or not, the deaths of Juvy and Sakchaser remain a tragedy, and the questions raised about loyalty, art, and justice continue to echo. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this episode moved you, share it. If it raised questions, let's talk. And if you're still wondering what justice looks like in a world where lyrics become evidence, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep your passport stamped with the truth and at the ready for the unknown. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe or check us out on Instagram at the Passport to Crime Podcast.